Healthstone, same as always. Howl of Terror, same as always. Life Tap reduces the global cooldown of your life tap by 0.5 seconds. This can be a pretty nice spell. Let's see, what's the global cooldown on it at the moment? Is it the same as everything else? Cast, life, tap. Whatever. Reduction to the global cooldown of life tap spell. This will probably be very good for raiding, PvP, stuff like that. Yeah, this is a pretty nice glyph. I'd probably take it, depending on what else there is here. Seduction. Your Succubus's Seduction ability also removes all damage over time effects from the target. Now, this is something that I think is a bit important. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, when I demonstrated the Succubus's ability, the Succubus has been buffed a bit. And now you can have the Succubus's Crowd Control, the Warlock's Fear, and the Warlock's Banish. And these are all 3 different crowd control abilities that you can use at the same time. So you may have your Succubus out a bit more often in raiding and the like, if there are other Warlocks who have their Fell Hunter out and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens when people hit level 85 and start doing raiding, but keep this glyph in mind because it might be helpful. So yeah. Glyph of Shadow Bolt reduces the mana cost of your Shadow Bolt by 15%. Personally, I don't think this is a good glyph, because we all know how easily Warlocks can get mana back. A reduction in mana cost isn't really the best thing in my opinion. But if you're a Deep Destruction Warlock, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know about this one. We'll see what happens with that. Personally, I am not going to be using it, but yeah. Glyph of Soul Link, same as always has been. Soulstone increases the amount of health you gain from resurrecting via Soulstone by an additional 40%. So that's been changed. It's been nerfed. It used to be 300%, I think. And Voidwalker, yeah, underwhelming. But I suppose that could be... no, underwhelming. Underwhelming. Minor Glyphs, Curse of Exhaustion. Increases the range of your Curse of Exhaustion spell by 5 yards, same as always. Kilrog, same as always. Ending Breath, same as always. But what about these? Glyph of Drained Soul. Your Drained Soul restores 10% of your total mana after you kill a target that yields experience or honor. Now, this is very interesting and going to be very useful, because if you'll recall from the earlier, before this was replaced, the Affliction talent build, you had a talent that was right about here, I believe. It was called like Soul Harvest or Soul Siphon or something like that. No, I think it was called Soul Harvest, but what it did was it was supposed to restore mana every time you delivered, you know, a kill that gave experience or honor, and you just get mana back in addition to the Soul Shard. And the thing is, that was always bugged, because if you didn't gain a Soul Shard from the kill, even if the target gave experience or honor, you also didn't get mana back, and that bug was never fixed, which is unfortunate. And there's another bug that was never fixed, which was Death Knight Death Runes. But that's a totally different topic. That's another issue. And, yeah. Basically, with that new minor glyph, you're going to get that talent back. And that used to be a talent, which now you get for the cost of a minor glyph, which is a lot less substantial. Unending Breath is the same. Kilrog is the same. I'm probably going to apply this the next time I stop by an auction house. I'm probably going to either get rid of Unending Breath or Kilrog. Probably Unending Breath, because there's going to be underwater mounts in Cataclysm, and the movement speed bonus isn't going to be that substantial. Maybe Kilrog. I don't know. Depends on how useful it is in Cata. We'll see. Anyway, Enslaved Demon. Reduces the cast time of your Enslaved Demon spell by 50%. Same as always, not really that useful. Health Funnel. If you're developing a special spec, like, that's just specifically so that you can solo stuff that's really hard, like hard group quests and stuff like that, and you're going to dual spec just to get that ability, this might be a nice glyph. But apart from that, I don't see it as being useful. Ritual of Souls. Nice to have a mana cost saver, but it's inferior in comparison to the practical benefits of these glyphs, so yeah. And let's go on to the prime glyphs. Most of the major damage dealing and spell affecting abilities from the Warlock section have been turned into prime glyphs. Glyph of Bane of Agony, it's the same as always. Same as always, just prime now. Chaos Bolt, same as always. Confligate reduces the cooldown of Confligate by 2 seconds. Corruption, same as always. I still believe that it stacks with the Shadow Trance ability from Affliction, because I noticed when I used this glyph in the Misty past that I got an increase in how much it procced, so I still think that this stacks, but we'll see about that. Felguard increases the damage done by your Felguard's Legion strike by 5%. Haunt. Bonus damage granted by your Haunt spell is increased by an additional 3%. Immolate increases the periodic damage of your Immolate spell by 10%. Imp. Garbage. Incinerate increases the damage done by Incinerate by 5%. Lash of Pain increases the damage done by your Succubus's Lash of Pain by 25%. I don't really know how much pets have been buffed at this time. That's something for elitist jerks and, the theory crafters to work on, but supposedly pets have been buffed significantly, so this might be worthwhile, but I'll leave that to a real theory crafter and see what they have to say about that, because this might actually be a good glyph, but maybe not. We'll see. Metamorphosis, mandatory if you're going Demonology. Shadowburn. Shadowburn's been changed. If your Shadowburn fails to kill the targets at or below 20% health, your Shadowburn's cooldown is instantly reset. This effect has a 6-second cooldown. This can be pretty nice. I used to dip into Destruction enough to get Shadowburn, and yeah, that's pretty nice. That's going to be pretty useful. Unstable Affliction, same as always. Okay, so if you're going for an Affliction build, you're probably going to want maybe Corruption, I don't know, Bane of Agony maybe, Haunt definitely, yeah. Prime glyphs for Affliction have really not been changed all that much, and it's really just going to come down to your playstyle and how you like to do things, apart from the pretty much mandatory Haunt. As for Unstable Affliction, its cooldown, its usefulness has been disputed for a long time now, and not a lot of Affliction Warlocks use this glyph. Yeah, Prime glyphs for Warlocks are kind of underwhelming. It'll really depend on what your favorite playstyle is, apart from the mandatory, your Demonology or your Affliction glyphs. As for major glyphs, Fellhunter, really nice for PvP. Shadow Flame might be useful for PvP. I really don't know how it got applied here. I did not apply that, but whatever. Soul Swap, real great for Affliction. Death Coil, also PvP utility. Demonic Circle, also PvP utility. Fear, a PvE utility, and in some cases a PvP utility. I'm going to be applying this one and replacing the Glyph of Shadow Flame, because you really don't need the Glyph of Shadow Flame if you are Affliction enough to get Curse of Exhaustion, because Shadow Flame only had one use and one use only. It did terrible damage, and it was really just used for a snare, for its slowing effect. And this glyph is not mandatory if you are Affliction, if you're PvPing and plan to snare and CC a lot. Fear, pretty much mandatory if you PvE. Maybe not so much if you PvP, but that will depend on what you're doing, and if you're in arenas and what your composition is, so on and so forth. This one will be up and down, depending on what you're doing with it. In a lot of cases, this will be really useful, so I will recommend the Fear Glyph. I'm not going to recommend it for quest grinding. Sorry. Howl of Terror. Same boat as Fear, really. Healthstone. Life Tap. Glyph of Life Tap. Reduces the global cooldown of your Life Tap by 0.5 seconds. I think this is going to be pretty useful for any Warlock of any spec. And when I'm not PvPing, I'm probably going to apply this instead of my Fellhunter glyph. So yeah, this is really nice. Seduction, covered it already. Shadow Bolt, meh. Soul Link, meh. Soul Stone, meh. Voidwalker, meh. So, yeah. As for the major glyphs, it's pretty much all up to you, and I already covered everything that was actually important in that section. Minor glyphs, same thing. So, yeah. That's pretty much everything that's important as far as Warlocks and the changes for the Affliction tree in Cataclysm and I've also covered their glyphs and stuff. So, yeah. Okay, there's one more thing that I wanted to show you guys, and that was the... I mentioned this earlier in my video, but I was talking about the effectiveness and the use of the healing effect of the new Corruption healing over time proc. And now that it's been turned off from a 100% proc, it's basically been nerfed. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, we'll apply Corruption, and let's see how it heals with Fel Armor off. So, it's only proccing half the time, and it's still proccing for around the amount that I was healed when its healing efficient was based off of the damage that Corruption dealt. So, yeah. Yeah, maybe... yeah. Corruption's been nerfed. Okay, so Corruption's healing effect has been nerfed. Soul Siphon is now significantly less effective. It seems to be effectively about a 50% reduction to the amount that it healed, because 2% of your total health was typically, at least in my case, with the gear that I was wearing, which was predominantly PvE gear and not PvP gear, I was typically healed for more health than 2% of my total health, because, you know, I was in PvE gear and I was PvEing. So, we'll see what happens when it comes to PvP gear and a PvP geared character to see if, you know, the heal effect will be greater than that of 2% of one's total health. But at present, it looks like Siphon Life and Corruption have been nerfed significantly. So, we'll look into that at a later day and see what happens when Cataclysm hits live, and maybe there's going to be a difference between the PvE and the PvP effects of the spell, since it's now based off of total health rather than based off of damage. I think there's a possibility that it might be. So, yeah, we'll look into that at a later date, folks. Anyway. Oh, and guys, there's one other thing that I wanted to tell you about. My succubus, her name has been changed. So her name is different now for some reason. That happened with a patch, but all my other Warlock minion pet things kept the same names. So, yeah, when you log in, don't be surprised if your succubus has a different name now. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my video regarding the Affliction Warlock changes and the talents and glyphs. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. I hope you guys found it informative, and I hope the information was useful. And I'll see you guys next time. Later, YouTube!